What if Ferrari's biggest enemy wasn't Red Bull or McLaren, but one of its own engineers? In this video, you will discover how an internal leak shook the foundations of Maranello, revealing the true cause behind Lewis Hamilton's abandonment in Brazil and leaving Fred Vasseur totally shocked. Stay, because this goes beyond a simple technical failure. We are talking about betrayal, chaos, and an SF-25 on the brink of collapse. Subscribe to continue uploading more of this type of content now, if we continue. It all started at Interlagos, Brazil's legendary track. The Grand Prix looked like a new opportunity for Ferrari to confirm its resurrection. Lewis Hamilton, in his third race dressed in red, sought to claim the most ambitious project of his career since leaving Mercedes. But what seemed like a day of redemption ended up becoming the darkest chapter of what many in Maranello fear to call a new historical era. Lap 40 was the culmination of a disaster that actually began before Sunday. Hamilton officially retired due to mechanical damage, but that's just the surface. Behind that recall is a tale of ignored warnings, failed technical decisions, and an accumulation of errors that could have been avoided. Everything was precipitated in the first round. In Turn 1, Hamilton was squeezed by Carlos Sainz's Williams, now converted into a direct rival on the track, and not only in Ferrari's history. That contact left the SF-25 relegated to the last positions. But the worst was yet to come. In an aggressive attempt to regain positions before the safety car came out, Hamilton made a mistake. He touched the rear of Franco Colapinto's Alpine on the main straight. The blow destroyed its front wing. This is where the real nightmare begins. Fragments of the carbon fiber spoiler, far from simply being left on the track, were embedded beneath the floor of the car. A crucial technical detail. The SF-25, like many modern single-seaters, relies on ground effect to generate downforce. Any alteration to the underside of the car completely alters the dynamic balance of the vehicle. Engineers revealed that these carbon remains damaged key areas of the diffuser, an essential part for sealing the air flow under the car. The result was devastating. Ferrari calculated a loss of between 35 and 40 points of aerodynamic load, which was equivalent, according to telemetry, to half a second per lap on a high-load circuit like Interlagos. In Formula One, half a second per lap is the difference between fighting for the podium and being a rolling obstacle. The effects were visible immediately. Hamilton, unable to maintain the pace, reported uncontrollable instability in the rear of the car. I couldn't brake with confidence, I couldn't fully accelerate through corners, and the car felt unbalanced. Ted Kravitz from Sky Sports summed it up in a phrase that went viral. That car is slower than something extremely slow. It wasn't just a funny line, it was reality. The aerodynamic configuration of the car was completely collapsed. But the most alarming thing was not the damage itself. It was that the team already knew the SF-25 had structural weaknesses before the weekend. And yet, it was decided to run with that setup. During Friday practice, Hamilton complained insistently that the rear tires did not fit within the optimal temperature window. In modern Formula One, where compounds have extremely narrow operating ranges, this is a major problem. When tires are too cold, they do not generate grip. When they are too hot, they degrade rapidly. Hamilton detected it instantly. He communicated it clearly. But his track engineer, Riccardo Adami, did not apply relevant adjustments. This was not a simple race failure. It was the result of a technical system that did not know how to respond in time. And what makes the situation more serious is that, according to internal leaks, this was not a surprise. In Maranello, they knew that the car had inconsistencies since Singapore, that the brake system was defective, that the correlation between wind tunnel and track was broken. But they decided to look the other way. In the words of an anonymous technician, we were building on invisible cracks. Hamilton's abandonment, then, was not just a DNF. It was confirmation that the SF-25 project is in a silent crisis. And this time, someone within the team decided that they couldn't keep quiet anymore. The internal leak that revealed all these details was not accidental. It was a clear message. The car is broken, and not just physically. It is broken in its conception, in its execution, and now also in the trust that the team has in each other. Fred Vasseur is no stranger to pressure. The current Ferrari team boss has survived traumatic transitions at the team, from the Binotto era to the most ambitious technical restructuring in years. But nothing prepared him for what happened after the Brazilian Grand Prix. Because this time it was not a simple performance crisis. It was an internal fracture, a betrayal from within, a wound inflicted by one of their own. The leak that revealed to the world the structural defects of the SF 25, and the negligent management of the Hamilton abandonment was not a simple indiscretion. It was a bomb dropped with surgical precision. The highly confidential information not only detailed the damage caused by the Colapinto incident, but also pointed to systemic failures in technical decision-making. And most worryingly, it suggested that Ferrari was aware of many of these problems before the race even started. For Vasseur, the impact was twofold. First, because the content of the leak was truthful. And second, because it made it clear that he could no longer blindly trust the internal unity of his team. Ferrari's technical leadership had undergone an urgent internal audit following Singapore, and Vasseur knew the car was far from perfect. But this public revelation exposed him in front of the entire paddock. Ferrari not only failed, but hid those failures. The hardest blow came when it was confirmed that the information came from one of the aerodynamic engineers responsible for the flat bottom and diffuser design. This person, according to internal sources, would have warned multiple times about the excessive sensitivity of the SF-25 to minor impacts, particularly due to how the air pressure was redistributed in the ground area. But their recommendations would have been ignored so as not to compromise the maximum downforce in qualifying. The team had opted for a knife-edge design, which was extremely efficient but fragile, and Brazil left him naked. However, what worries Vasseur most is that this leak may not be the last. The precedent is created. And in a season where the runners-up position is more open than ever, every technical or strategic failure can be amplified by those who no longer believe in the team's current leadership. What was supposed to be the year of Ferrari's rebirth has been transformed, quietly but brutally, into a technical, political, and moral battlefield. And Vasseur knows it. If he fails to control the narrative and restore internal cohesion, his project could fall apart before even reaching its competitive climax. Betrayal in the world of Formula One does not always take the form of a team change or controversy on the track. Sometimes betrayal is subtle, internal, almost invisible, until it is too late. At Ferrari, that line was crossed at Brazil 2025. And the most alarming thing was not what was revealed, but who revealed it and why. An engineer with full access to the technical heart of the SF-25 decided to leak to the world the deepest defects of a project that was announced as the redemption of the Scuderia. And with this, he lit a fuse that threatens to destabilize not only the season, but the immediate future of Ferrari. These types of leaks do not occur in a vacuum. They require desperation, frustration, and above all, the conviction that the internal channels have failed. The engineer, whose identity remains protected by the sources who published the information, did not act out of revenge or notoriety. He acted because the warnings were no longer being heard within the team. He had warned about structural problems in the braking system since the Singapore GP. He reported inconsistencies between the wind tunnel data and the behavior on the track. And most seriously, it documented how certain strategic decisions were being made to protect the car's public image rather than its actual performance. Fred Vasseur, caught between media pressure, internal crossfire, and the disappointment of his new star driver, now faces a perfect storm. Because each new race tests the team's resistance, not only on the track, but also in the engineering room, in the briefings, in the internal communication channels. Any new failure could fuel another leak. And any new strategic mistakes will be judged not only by rivals, but by their own employees. The consequences are already beginning to be felt. In Maranello, control over internal communication has been intensified. Technical chats are being audited, access to certain telemetry reports is restricted, and a digital security protocol has been imposed to prevent new leaks. But this has only increased the tension. Several engineers, according to unconfirmed reports, would have requested department changes or would even be considering offers from other teams, such as Aston Martin or Audi F1. Talent drain is a real threat, and for a team seeking stability in the midst of a technical revolution, losing key human resources would be catastrophic. Meanwhile, on the track, the results are not coming. Hamilton, frustrated but professional, has avoided making inflammatory comments, although his gestures in the garage say more than 1,000 words. Leclerc, for his part, has chosen to take refuge in his immediate surroundings, focused on maximizing what little the SF-25 can still offer. Subscribe to continue uploading more of that content. Now you really think about all this.